Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the Laces Out Show on the Ball Talk Media Podcast Network. I'm joined today by my good friends Noah Zandy and Devin LaTulippe.
How you doing?
And how are y'all?
Fantastic.
And yeah,
doing good.
What a time. Wouldn't rather be anywhere else right now. We wanted to get this show kicked off for a while. This one's just pretty much just going to be a general football show. We'll talk about the NFL, college football, whatever's going on. Today, we're just going to start off recording this on Friday, February 7th, so this is 2 days before the Super Bowl. The NFL honors were last night, and all the winners of the awards were revealed, so we're just going to go over those, give some thoughts, and talk about the voting, the winners, everything there is to go with that, and then we'll probably just go into some Super Bowl stuff, obviously predictions, anything about the game, just anything that any of us want to talk about. So let's get right into it. We won't sugarcoat anything. We'll just start what everybody wants to hear, but we'll go with we'll talk about the MVP first. So the MVP this season is pretty much a two-horse race. Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Allen ends up coming away with this award after Lamar had won it the 2 seasons prior. So what were y'all's thoughts on this? What were y'all's thoughts on this race? Not even necessarily what happened last night, just maybe throughout the entirety of the season as a whole, about these two players going, maybe if you want to call it back and forth for this award. What were y'all's thoughts on that?
Devin, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take this one.
This.
Now I make no mistake. I'm not a Josh Allen guy. I'll say this though. I'll probably shock Noah and Landon here. I think that in my view, Josh Allen probably deserved MVP more than Lamar Jackson, but not by the metrics that they use to vote it, because I have to be different. I think he proved that he deserved it in that playoff game. You saw Josh Allen rise to the occasion when Lamar failed that fumble and the crazy pick he threw in the first half. But Josh Allen didn't really make mistakes, and he won the Bills that game. So I'll give credit where credit's due on that. During the regular season, I do think it was a bit of voter fatigue. That's kind of been like a storyline going around this MVP this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Similar to like Joel Embiid and Jokic in the NBA. I do think it has something to do with that. We're just tired of we've gotten used almost to Lamar being so efficient and just not turning the ball over and, making the right read on seemingly every play and every game, that we kind of just took it for granted, and Josh Allen got away with it. But yeah, I think I wasn't mad either way. I think that you could make a great case for either one of those players. They're both top 5 quarterbacks in the league, however way you want to split it. So there's no coming out wrong in that one, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's kind of where I was at with it. I wasn't trying to get on here and debate about anything, really. You'll learn more about me as this show goes on. I'm not one to debate the teeny tiniest of things. If it's something like this where both players are great, I'm of the opinion that we should just appreciate it. I'm not going to go over here and try and argue one way or another for either of them, because I think they were both great. And whoever's name got called on stage last night, I wasn't going to be mad at it.
Yeah, I sort of had the same deal with the voter fatigue. I would have been fine with Lamar winning it this year if he hadn't won it last year, because I feel like back-to-back MVPs implies greatness. You would think some more playoff accolades would come with that. But I also thought pretty much that Saquon should have been somewhat in the conversation, because we're starting to get to a point in NFL voting to where it's a purely quarterback award. So I would have liked to see Saquon at least get some sort of votes and some recognition for what he did, putting up over 2,000 yards in a season.
I think that's a great point about Barkley. I don't want to get too off track here because we're talking about this season, but last season I thought was a year. If there was ever going to be a year where they went away from the quarterbacks, I thought last year was it. With Christian McCaffrey doing what he did, Tyreek Hill doing what he did, and it was a relatively weak year for quarterbacks. Lamar won it, and Dak Prescott was right up there with him, and Brock Purdy was too for a little bit. And it was just one of those seasons where if they were ever going to go off the norm, I thought last year was it. So yeah, it's unfortunate because guys like Barkley and CMC last year, they do deserve way more recognition than they received. And we'll talk about Barkley later in this show because he did end up winning an award last night. I'm just going to go over the voting real quick for the MVP. This is one of the closest MVP races I can remember. I've been watching football for over 10 years now, and Josh Allen had 27 first-place votes, and Lamar had 23. Now, I think one of the bigger stories from reading social media last night was there was a voter who voted Lamar Jackson fourth. Now, that just I don't understand that. I said earlier I don't like the debate, but it's whoa, what are we doing? How are you gonna have Lamar Jackson fourth on your MVP ballot? That one didn't make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, it was super tight, and I think like I said, I wasn't gonna be mad about either of them. Last thing before we move on, I thought it was interesting how both of you guys brought up playoffs in this, because technically playoff games don't factor into the awards voting, but I think us as outsiders, I mean, unless I know something about y'all know something about yourselves that I don't, y'all don't have MVP votes, neither do I. And I think it's fair when you don't have a vote, you're looking at it from this somewhat outsider point of view. You can take that playoff game into account, and then the two players played against each other, so that probably, for fans and outsiders, that probably magnifies it even more. Personally, I didn't really look at that one with too much stock. I was just looking purely at the regular season. But yeah, I just always find it interesting, the debates that happen during the postseason after the awards are pretty much already voted on. So yeah, with that, we'll move on to the next award, which is going to be Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year, it went to Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, back before the season started, I myself did season predictions, and I had the Vikings finishing, it was either third or fourth in the NFC North. I want to say it was fourth. Like, I want to say I had the Bears finishing third ahead of them, because I thought the Bears would be better. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking there. I should have known better. But Sam Darnold was the Viking, or not was, I mean, he is the Vikings quarterback. I mean, I guess he's not under contract, but I mean, he was their quarterback the whole season. He was their quarterback week 1, and Sam Darnold was just nothing to write home about. And Kevin O'Connell coached him up. He put a bunch of good players around him. He put him in an environment to succeed. And Sam Darnold had his career season. And that was largely because of Kevin O'Connell. So I think O'Connell deservingly won this award. His team went 14-3 in the regular season. Unfortunate end of the year in the postseason, but like we just talked about, the postseason doesn't factor into this voting. So I thought O'Connell definitely deserved this award. What do you guys think?
I fully agree with what you said, and I think it's more of a credit to his scheme than it is to Sam Darnold that they were able to succeed so much. I wasn't personally blown away with anything Sam Darnold really did. I was more blown away, like, with what you said, the coaching job. Just getting a guy like Sam Darnold to where he is at currently, and he's going to make a lot of money in the offseason, I think, due to his scheme.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Kevin O'Connell winning. I'm a Dan Campbell guy. If I had a vote in this theoretical world, I would have voted for Dan Campbell.
I think it's very valid.
Yeah,
I definitely wouldn't be opposed.
And he just, like, all the injuries the Lions faced this whole year, obviously the big ones like Hutchinson, but they all had like 20 something guys on IR.
It was crazy.
It was a ridiculous
some of the
number.
names, watching them at the end of the season, it was unbelievable.
Right, exactly. It's kind of my point. I don't know if that's completely fair to give Coach of the Year just based off that, because the Lions are still a stacked roster, like, even with all the injuries. But I don't know. Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, obviously. If he can make Sam Darnold look good, the guy that's his most famous moment is saying, I saw Ghost. That's like his claim to fame. You can get that guy playing at honestly an MVP type level at one point in the year.
For sure.
And you're a pretty elite coach in the NFL.
He was playing with so much confidence, and that there's so much that has to do with the coaching with that. And I think what he did such a good job of specifically is he took Sam Darnold's strengths and he really catered and molded that offense to fit those. And Darnold, he's a guy, he's really good throwing off play action over the middle of the field, hitting those deep end breakers, which matches up well with Justin Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, all those great pass catchers they have. I just thought it meshed really well all together because of O'Connell. And it's really beautiful to see, because I think there's an epidemic in the NFL with player development, especially quarterbacks. I think there's a lot of bad quarterback development, and this was not one of those examples. It was really fun to see. And it gives, I mean, I don't want to speak for all, but I'm pretty sure all of us now are probably much more confident in J.J. McCarthy for their future than we were before the season started. Yeah, Devin's over here smiling, the big Michigan fan right here.
I'm just telling you right now, you can mark it down, J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Watch out. I
think even O'Connell had a quote about that earlier in the season, saying pretty much that the teams failed Darnold, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, when you go look at the franchises Darnold played for, he got drafted by the Jets.
Yeah.
There's not much to say. We could do a whole podcast episode about why you wouldn't want to play for the Jets. And then he was a Panther, and we all know how the Panthers have been since Cam Newton was out of his prime. And then he was a 49er, which who knows, that was a good environment for him as the backup. And who knows, maybe Shanahan really helped him out there too. The voting on this one was also somewhat tight. O'Connell and Campbell were really the two that it came down to, and O'Connell had 25 first-place votes, and Dan Campbell had 19. And then Andy Reid, Dan Quinn, and Sean Payton were the other three finalists. I think those are all very deserving. I found it interesting, too. A lot of people would probably say Andy Reid's the best coach in the NFL, and the Chiefs are awesome every year, yet he's pretty much never going to win this award. Like the awards turned into who does the most with the least award, which isn't I guess a bad thing. I guess it's valid because I mean, that's part of being the coach of the year is coaching up the team and having the most to do with the winning. But I mean, Andy Reid just went 15-1, but they lost 2. I never count that Broncos game week 18 as an L because they tried about Carson Wentz. Yeah. So I just imagine they lost 1 game.
Yeah, trust me, as a Bengals fan, I know they did not try.
Yeah. Yeah. Bad day to be a Bengals fan on week 18. So yeah, no, that was a great season by the Vikings, and it showed with O'Connell winning that award. But we'll move on now. We'll go to the Offensive Player of the Year, which went to the aforementioned Saquon Barkley. And I don't think there was much argument here. Like I'm pretty sure it was unanimous, if I'm remembering correctly. Oh wait, no, it was not. Lamar had some votes. So I completely forgot about what. See, that's very interesting. So Saquon won this award with 35 first place votes. Lamar finished second with 12, and then Josh Allen wasn't even a finalist.
Yeah,
and he won the MVP over Lamar. Yeah. So, and you see some of that overlap too with the All-Pro teams. The people who vote for the awards are the same people who do the All-Pro teams. And Lamar Jackson was the first team All-Pro quarterback, and Allen won the MVP. So it's interesting to see some of the overlap with the voting. But anyways, Saquon. Actually, looking here, it looks like Josh Allen was a finalist, and then this voting chart right here is saying that he didn't finish top 5 in voting. So I don't know, maybe there's a typo on the source I'm looking at, but either way, it really doesn't matter. Saquon won the award deservingly. He was great. He joined Philly, and it was just a perfect storm. Even most players, if you play fantasy football, if you drafted Saquon, you had like at least a 50% chance of winning your league. He was that good. It was unbelievable. He was chasing Eric Dickerson's rushing record towards the end of the year. He ended up sitting out week 18, so he didn't really get a chance to get it then. And it was just unreal. It seemed like he was scoring a 75-yard touchdown every week, which is really hard to do in the NFL.
Go ahead, Devin. I feel like you want to say something.
Oh, no, I agree. No, Saquon was a beast this year. He fully deserved it. Yeah, I mean, actually, I feel like this one's the least I have to say on something, honestly. Like, this is kind of a layup.
Yeah. I think I would say the same about this one.
Was it like one of 12 players ever do it or something like that?
Yeah. This is always like the consolidation award for the running back or the receiver that was great and that wasn't going to win MVP because they're not a quarterback. And yeah, I mean, he's fully deserving of this one. There was a big storyline around this award. I think most football fans know about this. Saquon Barkley was a Giant and now he's an Eagle. And it's a big rivalry. And the Giants were featured on the offseason Hard Knocks. And Saquon, there was a famous clip of John Mara, the owner of the Giants, basically saying he was going to lose sleep at night if Saquon went to Philly. And he did. Not only did he go to Philly, he went to Philly and had one of the 2 or 3 best running back seasons in the history of the NFL. So I know Giants fans are sick. I also know they're tired of hearing about it, so we're not going to talk about it on here. I'll stand up for them a little bit. If you go look at that New York Giants roster, who their O-line was, Daniel Jones as their quarterback, they had Malik Neighbors, but that was pretty much it. Saquon Barkley wasn't going to run for 2,000 yards with the Giants. He was going to be the same level of player on the field, but he wasn't going to produce like he has for Philly. And I think that's just something that's gotten lost. When you're the Giants, I see the Giants as a rebuilding team. If you're a rebuilding team in the NFL, I just don't know if it makes much sense to give a running back a 4-year contract for $12 million, whatever it was that he ended up getting. And
I really don't think your win-loss total is going to change all that much, whether Saquon plays or he doesn't play.
Yeah.
Given, like you said, you can't block at all. So, and you're throwing money and you're kind of wasting his time at the same time because you're just wasting the prime of his career for no reason, basically.
Yeah, and running backs, they have the shortest careers out of any position. This was a great year for the running backs. Maybe I do believe this about the NFL. I think it's just a big circle. I just think everything comes back around eventually. So running backs, it could be coming back around. I still think it made sense for the Giants to move on, though. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I just don't think the Giants are a team that was in position to give Saquon that contract. So it sucks for the fans and all that, but Saquon balled in Philly. What a year he had. So with that, we'll move on to the Defensive Player of the Year, which was taken home by Patrick Surtain, the second cornerback for the Denver Broncos. I believe it's first non D lineman to win since Stephon Gilmore won for the Patriots a few years back. And I thought this one was deserved. Now, full disclaimer, I'm a Steelers fan, so you may think I'm going to come up here and clamor for TJ Watt. Led the league in forced fumbles, game record every week. Now, I don't think this was the year that he deserved it. I wouldn't have voted for him. I honestly believe Cam Hayward was the best player on the Steelers this year. That's besides the point. But Surtain wins. And he was the best player on arguably the best defense in the league. So I thought that, I mean, the Broncos had a rookie quarterback and they made the playoffs. And Bo Nix had a great year, but a lot of it did have to do with Surtain and the defense.
Yeah, I would agree. I actually, it sucks for Trey Hendrickson just because of how great of a year he had. But I do love the NFL. I mean, I guess it wasn't really the NFL. I do love the voters giving the award to a cornerback that just shuts down the entire side of the field, or entire player, how you want to word that. But so I'm glad he won. I think he was deserving. Like we mentioned, he's the first one to win it since Gilmore did. When did Gilmore win it?
2020, I believe.
2020. Okay, so it's good to see that come back. And yeah, I mean, everybody knows he's unbelievable. He's the best corner in the league. Just won the defensive player of the year. But yeah, it sucks for Trey. But
Yeah, you got thoughts on Hendrickson, Noah? You want to get some
Yeah,
insight there?
I would have liked to see Hendrickson win. Obviously, he's a Bengal. He led the league in sacks. But I'm not going to be up in arms about Pat Surtain taking it ahead of him. He had an excellent year. He's probably the reason why they're in the playoffs. More so that defense was a lockdown. I think, too, it's also really hard to measure quarterbacks when it comes to awards like this because your best stats are your lack of stats, I would say.
Exactly.
They are not throwing the ball at you. So you're going to have guys like Trayvon Diggs a few years back who have a ton of interceptions, but also give up a lot of touchdowns. Pat Surtain didn't give up very many yards and walked down the league's best receivers. So I think he was well-deserved.
I think stats in general for corners are really tough because watching going back to Pittsburgh, Dante Jackson had 4 or 5 interceptions this year. I watched every game. Dante Jackson just wasn't that good. And people may see the 5 picks and think that's great. And yeah, it's a lot of picks are right place, right time in the NFL. And the corner's just one of those positions to get a gauge on how good they really are. You have to watch it. Whereas with the defensive lineman, you can look at sacks and pressures and win rate and TFLs and the splash plays like forced fumbles, all that. Yeah, Hendrickson got second, and I thought that was deserved. I mean, he led the league in sacks, and he was really the only bright spot for the Bengals defense. I think if the Bengals defense was one of the worst in the league, and they didn't even have to be the best. I think if they were even in the upper half of the NFL, Hendrickson may have had a way better shot to win the award because a lot of voters do take into account that team success. And Hendrickson had a great individual season, but the rest of that defense was just putrid, which was not his fault, but that's just what it was. So yeah, we'll move on from that one. We'll go to Offensive Rookie of the Year, which was Jaden Daniels. And I mean, that was expected. He won at a landslide. I mean, Brock Bowers got 1 first place vote, and Daniels got the rest of them. And it really sucks because it was deserving for Daniels. Like I would have voted for him. He deserved the award. I think the proper player won the award. But we're talking about a guy in Brock Bowers who is the best player at his position. He was the best tight end in the NFL in 2024 as a rookie. That's incredible. Tight end's one of those positions it's really hard to latch on early as a rookie because you have to learn the blocking schemes and you have to obviously learn the route tree in the pass game. And I just can't say enough good things about Bowers. And then Bo Nix, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors were among the other ones. It's crazy LSU had three rookies in there for that award. And it was just a great year in general for rookies. But I mean, this one, did y'all think Bauer should have won? Like, would any of y'all object to Jaden?
I wouldn't object. I do want a couple things about Bowers. Obviously, he's the best tight end in the league. Well, I think he's best
this season. This season. Yeah.
Right. He also played Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew was throwing the ball all season, which is unreal. And he also played on the Raiders. Luke
Getsy was calling his plays.
Right.
But that's an impossible situation.
Yeah, it's quite literally an impossible. That's like, if you could grow, if Brock Bowers it was impossible that he was going to fail in the NFL. I think we all watched him play at Georgia. It was like, okay, this guy's like unreal. So it's impossible he's going to fail. If he was going to go anywhere to fail, it would have been the Jets or Oakland. Or
Vegas.
Or Vegas. Yeah, excuse me. Mine's running low. Like I was saying, yeah, if it was a situation where he would fail, it would be on the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are one of those teams where it's like a struggle to watch. That's a team that even in July, I'll be like, man, when I watch the Raiders right now,
it's a very tough watch.
Yeah.
These two guys know me. I have this bit I do. I always say if the Raiders are playing a game in my backyard, I probably wouldn't even open the window. And they're just one of those teams, man.
Yeah.
It's rough. I watched one Raiders game this year. It's because they played the Steelers.
Yeah, you deserve it.
It's pretty horrid.
Applause for that, honestly. Raiders, Steelers, goodness gracious. But I mean, obviously, we're not mad at Jay Nails winning it. I think that offense is set up perfectly. Like it's still like a college-y type offense, so it's a great transition from his time at LSU to the pros, and it just really worked out. They put a good Like, they gave him a veteran tight end that's so important for like a young quarterback, and he has Terry McLaurin. So it just all worked out really well. Obviously, kind of what Bears fans would have wanted Caleb Williams to be like. Great season, deserving of the award. Excited to see where he goes from here.
I don't have any objections either. I think very rarely you see these quarterbacks come out and just flip a franchise the way Daniels did, because I don't even think necessarily Washington has that great of a roster. You saw that with their receiving core too, how it was lacking at times, but his athleticism made up for it. He also was able to use his legs, which is a very pronounced part of his game, which really opened up their offense. So I have no objections at all. I wouldn't have argued for Bowers to win. I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, people get tired of quarterback discourse. Quarterback discourse is a really sensitive subject, maybe to some, because I don't know, it just seems like it gets super heated. This is another scenario where I think Caleb's going to be good. I think Drake May is going to be a good player. I think there is a cap on Bo Nitz's ceiling, but I think he can be a successful starter for a long time. And then who knows? We talked about McCarthy. Who knows with Penix at this point? This could be a historically great quarterback class. And Daniel stole so much of the spotlight, but in that, I do want to highlight what Jane Daniels did is remarkable. The season he had, he came in the NFL as a rookie, and he's knocking on the door of being one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league. I would have him up there in that top 10, back end of the top 10 at least. And he beat Detroit on the road in the playoffs, took this team to the NFC Championship. When you look at their roster, how did that team get to the NFC Championship? Just an unbelievable season. It changed the whole course of the franchise, a franchise that's been seemingly cursed for years. There's not a lot of fan bases that deserved that more than the Washington fan base, and it was really cool to see. It's just an unreal year, and that future cannot be any brighter there. Now, like I said, I think this quarterback class in general, I think it's going to be one of the better ones that we'll see, and I'm really looking forward to see how all these players develop in their careers. So we will move on to Defensive Rookie of the Year, which this defensive rookie class is interesting because it wasn't super star-studded. It wasn't the strongest one that we've ever seen. And the player who ended up winning it was the guy that I chose to win it before the season started, and that was Mr. Jared Verse, a edge rusher for the LA Rams, who he had a great year. The Rams D-line in general, I thought, was maybe the most underrated unit in the NFL. This is one they had Verse and Braden Fisk, the Florida State teammates as rookies, Kobe Turner, among others. Just a really excellent young group led by Verse, and he was just a wrecker off the edge. He ended up winning this award. He had 37 of the 50 first place votes. Quinyon Mitchell got 9, and then his teammate Fisk got 1. And he was unreal. I mean, seems like a guy that's going to be a really good player for years to come. I want to speak a little bit on the Rams here. The Rams have gone just completely under the radar as one of the better organizations in the NFL. They did what everybody called the F them picks method in 2021, traded all their picks, went all in on that Super Bowl, got that Super Bowl, and then it just seemed like they were going to be in the mud for a little bit going forward. But they're not. They're still really good every year. They have a great head coach in Sean McVay, an elite head coach. They still have one of the better quarterbacks there are, Matthew Stafford. And they've built this young defensive line as a really good base foundation for their defense and for their team. And I mean, this is just another pick that hit on Verse wins Rookie of the Year.
This kind of felt like a hodgepodge year for rookies where everyone was sort of, I would say, like similar caliber. And then I think you saw at the end of the year, Verse ended up getting really hot and just kind of ran away with the award. So I don't have a problem with this one. I'm agreeing with a lot of these picks, but I mean, they're the popular picks for a reason. So yeah, I think good season for Verse. And like you said, I think the Rams were able to get a bright future, really hit on some of these picks when they were basically conceding for the next couple of years, and they managed to stay competitive. So credit to their coaching staff too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about this one. I think this one's another one that just kind of makes sense. He was, like you said, he got hotter at the end of the season. I mean, he was obviously good all year, and then at the end, he kind of took off and made some plays. Even the playoff games, he played well, which I know obviously doesn't count in the voting, but it's just kind of speaks how good of a player he was. And yeah, credit to the Rams. I think at least I assumed this, after Aaron Donald retired, I was like, oh, so the Rams defense is like dead. Like that, he was their defense for all intents and purposes.
I think a lot of people thought that.
Yeah, me included. Turns out they're still pretty good. And when you have Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, and a decent defense, you're probably going to be competitive for as long as all three of those things
are there. That's true. Yeah, another guy, the second place finisher, Quinyon Mitchell. I think Quinyon Mitchell's a stud. If you scroll down on on this page, on the Ball Talk social media page, at Ball Talk Media on Instagram and TikTok. There's a short I made back in the offseason about Quinyon Mitchell, and he came out of Toledo as a rookie, and he was pretty much thrown into the fire pretty early as the Eagles CB1 and was latching on to the top receivers in the league throughout the season. If you didn't watch him and you just looked at his numbers like we talked about earlier, there were none, which was a good sign. He ended up, I think, finally getting a pick in the playoffs, and just really kept playing at a high level in the spotlight. He's about to play in the Super Bowl in a couple of days against the Chiefs, so I just wanted to highlight Mitchell too. Just not maybe toot my own horn a little bit, called that one, but yeah, he had a great season. He's going to be just like a seamless Darius Slay / James Bradbury replacement in Philly, which just they don't miss. That's another one. We could just do a whole podcast episode about Philly's drafts. It's unbelievable.
Philly's just rich getting richer, pretty much.
Rich getting richer, yeah. I mean, they got DeJean in this draft too. Just drafted 2 franchise corners casually. All right, next award, we'll do the comeback player of the year. It was Joe Burrow for the Bengals. It's pretty much a 2-man race, Burrow and Darnold. I'll keep this one quick. I think a lot of people wanted Darnold just because of the year he had, but I thought it just went against the definition of the award. But what did Sam Darnold come back from? Being bad, being a backup? I don't really think that fits the mantra of the award, so I thought Burrow deserved it. He got injured last year, and then he came back, and if the Bengals were a better team, he probably would have won the MVP award.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have a lot to say about this one. It just makes sense. Burrow came back from injury, played at, probably if you just look at the season in isolation, probably the best quarterback in the league. Yeah, seems like a layup. If the Bengals, people don't talk about this enough. Bengals beat Patriots week 1, they're in the playoffs. So,
yeah, classic week 1 Bengals.
That's week 1 Bengals, yeah.
Yep, tell me about it.
Season started week 4. Bengals might win the Super Bowl every year, honestly.
It's a credit to Zach Taylor. But I do think that obviously, I love that Burrow won the award. And I was just having this argument, like you said, Landon, with my friend yesterday about Sam Darnold. And I'm like, you can't, the concept of the award, it doesn't make sense for you to be like, I suck, but I'm good this year, so I deserve to come back. No, you didn't come back from anything. Burrow had a significant injury. It just makes no sense to me, people who were arguing for Darnold to win this one.
Yeah, that never made much sense to me as well. The other one that I did want to highlight out of these finalists was J.K. Dobbins. I do think that's a great story. He had multiple just major injuries.
Oh yeah, I think
he was running back to come back from. Yeah, and he had a really good year for the Chargers. So shout out to Dobbins. I think that's it for really the major ones. I know Ben Johnson won the Assistant Coach of the Year, and then honestly, one of the most important awards of the year was the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, which went to Eric Armstead of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's shout out to Eric Armstead. It's always a huge honor to win that award. You get to wear the patch on your uniform of the award once you win it. So it's a very prestigious honor. Josh Allen and Jamar Chase each won the FedEx Air and Ground Player of the Year award. George Kittle got the Salute to Service award. Always a character with Kittle. So I like to see that. Our guy Josh Allen got the Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award. Devin, big day for Devin there.
Sportsmanship Award?
Yeah, sport, man.
Oh, brother. Give me a break.
Dude, that's a significant one.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You don't think he's a good sport?
No, you see him throw the ball, the player that no. I mean, we'll do a whole Josh Allen podcast in July, and I'll just rant them. But we don't need to do that here.
Oh yeah, that's gonna do it for our awards. I thought it was just a fun season overall. A bunch of good players. So yeah, we'll go into the Super Bowl now. The Super Bowl is on Sunday, and I feel like I haven't even heard much about it because of what's been happening in the NBA over the last week or so. Which this isn't an NBA podcast. We'll probably get a basketball podcast started with somebody on here soon on Ball Talk. But anyways, the Super Bowl. It's the Chiefs versus the Eagles. And before I get into this, I just want to say, when we're talking about the Chiefs, we can throw out all the logic we want. We could spend an hour talking about why the Chiefs should lose, why the Eagles are the better roster. They are. Why they should win this game. But it's the Chiefs. I mean, they just find a way every time. So just quick disclaimer, before we talk about any of this, that I have no idea what y'all are going to say. But that's my overarching take. I think the Chiefs are going to win. And if they lose, so be it. Congrats to the Eagles. I'm not going to look like a fool picking the Eagles, and then they go in there and lose, and it's the most obvious thing they've ever seen in the world, and then I'm mad at myself because I didn't pick the Chiefs. I'm just going to go with the Chiefs and be boring and safe, but I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. I'm not even the Chiefs. A lot of the, it didn't take long for the Chiefs hate to override the thanks we all had whenever they dethroned the Patriots dynasty. It didn't take long. I don't hate the Chiefs. Like I said, I don't hate Pat Mahomes. I don't think the ref discourse around the Chiefs is as strong as others may believe. I think the Chiefs just win games, and they just make less mistakes than their opponents. They just find a way to win, like Landon was saying. That's a winning formula, especially when you have one of the best quarterbacks of all time on your roster, and Andy Reid coaching them, and you have Chris Jones in that defense and Spags. That's just a winning formula, similar to the Rams. I think
They've reached Patriots level where they find a way every time, and you just can't go against it. Their body of work, the way they run things, it's just very similar, and they're just going to make those biggest plays in the biggest moments of the game. Everything's just going to go their way. And I kind of lost my thought, but back to the refs thing you brought up, that's been a big topic of discussion with the Chiefs. Similar to the Patriots, and not a lot of people said, I mean, it was pretty obvious watching them. Yeah, they got some favoritism from the referees, from the officials, because of their track record of success. But that kind of shined away how awesome they were. The Chiefs are an incredible football team. They're the best. They're the best team. And they don't have the best roster. I think the Philadelphia Eagles have the best roster. But as far as team goes, when you have to account for the fact that they have the best quarterback in football, they have the best coach in football, best play caller in football on offense, and the best defensive play caller in football, they have the best team. And whether they get help from the rest or not, I feel like that just can't be overstated.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find anyone who dislikes the Chiefs as much as me, because I really don't like them. I'll be very honest about that. I hate them. But at the same time, I'm not going to pick against them. The Bills were my Super Bowl pick this year, and after getting burnt on that, I'm never picking against them again, because I just can't. They've proven me wrong every single time. So I'm not going to be stupid, like you said. And the Eagles are going to win because they have the better roster. That doesn't matter at this point. Like, the Chiefs are just, every single time, there's always that play in the game. You can pinpoint it against the Bills, that fourth down stop. They are always on the right side of those plays, so I can't pick against them.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much pressure being a team playing against them, especially in the playoffs, because you get to a point in the game. I remember, for example, in the Bills game, the Bills went up 22-21 in the early fourth quarter, maybe it was mid fourth quarter, somewhere around there, and the Chiefs got the ball. And when I'm watching that game, my thought process is, what are the Bills going to do when they get it back? Because I just had no doubt in my mind the Chiefs are going to go down and get 8 points. They were going to score and then get the 2-point conversion and go up 7. I just knew that. There was no doubt in my mind. And it's honestly gotten to the point where coaches somewhat have to think that way too, which is crazy. You pretty much have to account for the fact that they're the Chiefs and they're probably going to go score. And it just makes you coach differently. It makes you coach out of your comfort zone. It makes you prepare in a way that you wouldn't prepare and normally. I just think with all that, and then you're playing the best team, like we've already talked about, it's a hassle having to game plan and execute the game plan and then go into the game and pull all the right strings, because you pretty much have to play perfect. And this is a team, the Chiefs, they don't turn the ball over much. They actually turned the ball over against Buffalo, and Buffalo still couldn't win. And it's going to be tough. Now, this is a rematch from 2022, the 2022 season, that Super Bowl. And it was a great game. So I'm just hoping it's another game like that where it's tight and we can at least be tricked into thinking the Eagles have a chance to win at the end.
I'll say this. I think the Eagles are, obviously they won the NFC. They are the best team setup wise. Like you mentioned, they have the best roster in the league. But just how they're built is the way you beat the Chiefs, which is you play perfect defense and just pray for any turnover, any mistake, a drop pass, a pick, a overthrow, whatever, and you hold the ball and you run the ball. Run the ball specifically. You have to be able to run the ball to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs too. You just have to control the clock, control the game. You can't let Pat Mahomes, because that offense runs perfectly. So you have to control the clock, control the ball, control the tempo of the game, establish the run, and that's how you beat the Chiefs. It's hard, and like a lot of teams aren't set up to do that, which is why the Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions. But that is the way you beat them.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs' offense has turned into death by 1,000 cuts. They're not the splashiest offense that they were back in 2018 with Tyreek Hill. But they're still, in my opinion, just as good because they're the most efficient offense in the league. They don't know how to get behind the sticks. They refuse to do it. They're in second and manageable, third and short if they get to third down, seemingly every drive. And I think that's what you were talking about on defense. You honestly almost kind of have to play bend but don't break. Maybe force them to field goal a time or two. But I think the key is you just have to create splash plays, whether it's turnovers, or really like getting them behind the sticks and getting sacks on early downs, which the Eagles' defensive line is great, so maybe they have a chance to do that. But it's crazy to see. I guess really more fascinating to see the evolution of that offense over the years to really play like we were talking about the Patriots, play more Patriot style football, and that's a good, I guess, showing to Patrick Mahomes as a player too. He's evolved from this gunslinging, he's trying to get chunks every play, to this pre-snap at the line of scrimmage, mental mastermind like Tom Brady was, and he's shown he can play any style of football. And as a football purist, I played quarterback when I played, so me being that, I enjoyed just good QB play, and Mahomes is really, it's just art sometimes watching him do it. Well, it's frustrating and it's annoying, but I can also appreciate how great it is.
This may be like an irrelevant point, but this does feel like a game the Eagles would win in the regular season. But given that it is the Super Bowl in the playoffs, I think the Chiefs have the edge here.
Yeah. Well, we just saw Buffalo beat them in the regular season.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like the same exact sort of game.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what Spags does, because people talk about with the Eagles team all year, just load the box and make Hurts beat you, but it hasn't happened yet. And I feel like if anybody can come up with the perfect plan for them, it's Spagnuolo. I feel like he just has it in his head that he cannot let Saquon take over this game, because it is going to be tough sledding. So I think he's going to do everything he can to put Hurts in tough situations. And the key is, it's like kind of the same thing we talked about for the Eagles defense, getting the Chiefs off script. If you can get the Eagles off script, if you can keep them in second and longs and third and longs and making them throw the ball more than they want to, and staying behind the chains, I think you have a real shot, because if you can get some pressure and get after Hurts, honestly, he doesn't have the best pocket presence. And if you make him drop back and read the field and go through all his progressions, then you'll have some success. Because Hurts, this is what I think about Jalen Hurts. I think he can throw the ball well. I think he's a good thrower of the football. I think he struggles in the mental aspect in the drop back game, having to make it through reads of like full field progressions, snapping his eyes back to the middle of the field and throwing backside concepts. That's just something he really struggles with. And if you make him play behind the sticks and you can come up with a solution for Brown and Smith and the one-on-ones, which is easier said than done, then it's going to be tough. But, the Eagles, maybe the best rushing offense in the NFL. And Brown and Smith have been so good at winning those one-on-ones. So it should be fun. I mean, it's just two awesome teams going at it for the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
What more could you ask for? What more could you ask for the Super Bowl matchup?
I mean, the Eagles I think this is probably the best case, honestly. I mean, Detroit was great, but if Detroit somehow made it through Washington, I don't know, just with the injuries we talked about with them.
I still retain that as cool as it is to like Jared Goff, and as much as like a likable guy he seemingly is, I don't think that Jared Goff will win you a Super Bowl. He might get you there. He might get you through the playoffs. He might himself win you a divisional round. I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and I don't think the Lions will win a Super Bowl until they move on from Goff. And I'll stand by that.
That's a pretty bold take. Yeah, so it's the NFL with the way it is right now, especially really for the AFC. If you don't have an alien playing quarterback for you, it's gonna be hard. And I consider Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow, I consider those guys extraterrestrials playing quarterback. So I just think for any team that doesn't have one of those four, man, I just don't see it. I just don't. And I think the other model is you like a 49ers or a Lions type model, where you have an elite offensive line, you have elite receivers, you have an elite running game, you have an elite play caller, and then you can get away with the Jared Goff or the Brock Purdy type quarterback, which I like to call those guys. I don't like to be disrespectful to them, because I do think they're good players. I like to refer to those guys as high-end game managers. And I feel the same way about Jalen Hurts. I think Hurts is a high-end game manager, but he does bring a different dynamic than the other two because of his legs. He can run the ball. It's just that fit to that scheme is so perfect.
I think it is interesting how you brought up how AFC teams and NFC teams are differently stacking how they build their roster. It's really interesting to see how all the elite quarterbacks, it feels like, are stacked in one conference, and how everyone has to adapt to that, where in the NFC, where you can kind of like load up your roster, and that's the model. So it's like an interesting team clash going into this.
Yeah. It was like that too in the Niners Chiefs Super Bowls that we've had in recent years, where the Niners in 2019, 2020, they had Jimmy Garoppolo, and then the last season they had Purdy. And like Devin said, he couldn't see the Lions winning one with Goff. He could see him getting there, and that's exactly what San Francisco's done with that model so far. So it'll be interesting, but it's just like, because all those NFC teams are great that have made it, but it's just if they get into that game and you're telling me that the other team has Patrick Mahomes, I don't know, man. It's going to be tough for me to pick against that.
That's why I like to.
Noah, did you ever give your official prediction? You said Chiefs, right?
I said Chiefs. Yeah, I'm not picking
Okay,
against
so we're
them. I
Chiefs
can't.
across the board. We're all going down with the ship if they go down. If the Chiefs lose,
I'll be happy if I'm wrong. That'd be great.
yeah, that's the thing. I think it'd be a better story if we're wrong. I mean, the Chiefs three-peat would be cool. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's a cool story, but I think for the sake of parity and for the sake of the enjoyment of football, I think it'd be cool to see just another team win. Just give somebody else a turn.
Eagles just had their turn, man. Give me the Chiefs. Eagles just had their turn.
Nope.
It's
Dude,
one too many if you ask me.
I think
One
the
too many
Eagles
for
team
the
is better than that 22 team though. So
Yeah, the 22 team was that was cool. They were cool. They had Nick Foles as quarterback. Like, come on, man, that was awesome. They were in the
see their
Philly special.
backup on that team.
Beat the Eagles. Or they beat the Patriots.
You're talking about the 17 team.
Yeah, the way back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They had their turnover. That's recent. That's recent, man. In my book,
I don't know, man. It's 8 years ago.
they just got theirs. No.
8 years ago.
No. That's recent.
No, that
Dude,
Eagles
I
team
was like
was
14,
cool.
dude.
You're right though. Nick
Yeah.
Foles was cool.
Nick Foles is cool. The Philly special, cool. I don't care what anybody says. That was cool. We all thought it was cool when it happened. It's still cool.
You know, it'd be cool to see Kelsey crying on the field if the Eagles win. So
All right, well, that's gonna do it for us. I mean, that was a good first episode. We'll come back at you at some point after the Super Bowl. We'll obviously talk about the game, and then I think we're gonna get another football show started on this, on Ball Talk very soon after the Super Bowl as well. We don't have a name for that one yet, but I know for sure that one's probably going to be more catered towards draft and free agency, off-season stuff. So now we can talk about that a little bit on here too, but we're also going to cover the college game on here. So we can pretty much go a lot of avenues, but thank you for tuning in, whether you're listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube, whatever it is, we appreciate it. You can go follow me on social media at Landon Speck 2 on X, and then the Ball Talk accounts, I believe it's all at Ball Talk Media on X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So if y'all want to shameless plug your socials, y'all can too.
and Zandy
Yeah.
87 on Instagram, give it a follow. Some great content on there.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, or excuse me, X at LaTulippe Devin. Just backwards where you see the name right here. Post Memphis basketball. So if you're into that, if you're into basketball, college basketball, give me a follow.
All right,
My
so
Twitter, Ball
stay
State
tuned.
News 1.
Yeah, Ball State News 1 on. There's some lore behind
Crazy
that. We can
handle.
explain that. We can explain the Ball State lore another day.
Yeah.
That's Noah's Ed's handle at Ball State News 1. So yeah, excited. We're gonna get a lot going on here, and this is just the beginning. So appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.